Welcome to What Are You Sporting About podcast, a podcast about business, employment, sports, and entertainment to help educate, support, and guide you to your next level. Here's your host, attorney Sivonnia DeBarros.
We have another pro on the call, Porche Grant, and she's amazing, but she has a passion for educating players on transitioning. And we talked a lot about how athletes get to a place where they're not setting the right strategic plans or putting finances in place and setting budgets or monitoring their accounts, but also not really knowing what they want to do post-sports. And so one of her passions is to help these athletes transition. Good morning, Porche. How are you?
Great morning, everyone. I'm fine, Sivonnia. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, Porche, tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to helping athletes.
Okay. I am from Washington, D.C. I played at the University of South Florida. Got into sports late, stayed in sports a long time, had some ups and downs, rounds and rounds, figured out what works for me. And similar to what you said, I found my purpose to be to help people figure out what works for them from a professional standpoint.
Love it. Now, you're a woman, a former professional athlete, and as a woman, there are certain challenges that we face that our counterparts don't necessarily encounter. So talk to us a little bit about what particular challenges you face as a professional athlete, just as a woman, abroad, what have you. Tell us about your challenges.
And I do apologize for any background noise. I am in a hotel.
It's okay.
But one thing, I did play overseas, so unfortunately I never got an opportunity to play in the WNBA, or I didn't take the opportunity when I had it. But one thing that was hard was being a mom and a professional athlete at the same time and being away from my kid. Anyone with a young child between the ages of 0 to 6 months, 0 to 2 years old, being away from your children is a burden within itself. Just being away from family from the young age of 12 to 13, all the way up until the age of 22, 23 years old, really not being home for holidays, not being able to see nieces and nephews be born, when mom is sick, not being able to go visit the hospital. Most people take things like this for granted. And I know not unique to this experience, Otis and Lorente, you too probably have experienced this, but that's something that's very hard because you can't get that time back, you know? So when you do fly into town for 24 hours or 48 hours and you try to squeeze everyone in and people just say, oh, you never get to see me when you're home or you never come. It's like, listen, I'm doing the best I can.
Right.
Another challenge while playing pro, since I was playing overseas, was adjusting to the game. The rules are different there. Everyone doesn't know you, right? Some countries, they love Americans. Some countries, they don't.
Right.
Sometimes you're David. Other times you're Goliath, right?
Right.
And one thing I thought I was maybe going to hear this from Lorente or Otis. One of the obstacles I had was the agent that I selected first when I went pro. I inherited an agent from one of my teammates who did very well. She played at the University of Virginia. She also was drafted into the WNBA, was a second draft pick in 2010. And, we played AAU together. And her agent was a big-time agent. He did a bunch of WNBA players, this, that, and the third. And although I was good, he really didn't care about me. I wasn't a big fish. So being a small fish, just like with anything else, if I'm not bringing you $500,000 contracts or $250,000 contracts, my needs and my wants or my goals won't be a priority to you. So I had that with my first agent I played in, and then I found another agent. Similar to when you're signing a national letter of intent or when you commit to a university, sometimes we care about the name on the front of the jersey more than we do the name on the back of the jersey, which is good from a certain standpoint. But you want to go somewhere where you can make a difference when you're going to college. And who, when you're an agent, who's going to work for you and don't think that you're just on their roster.
Right. You know, and I've heard somewhat of the same type of conversation or issue from a former NFLer about the agent. And this particular young man, I think he actually held a few NCAA titles, but his agent just didn't work for him, didn't do anything for him. But moving back to you, you talked about this agent not really working on your behalf because you weren't technically the big fish. And as a woman, which is something as women, we are somewhat kind of climbing that ladder, decimating the glass ceiling, so to speak. But there still is a huge financial gap between women that are doing the same things as men, whether it's sports or in business. So, like, tell me a little bit about your experience with any financial challenges or not feeling like you were paid properly as a professional basketball player, because I do know the rules abroad are completely different. And I've heard professional basketball players talk about how they had to fight for their money. You know, once they've actually played, they've shown up, they've done what's been required of them, but they couldn't get paid.
Well, I can say this. As far as finances go, I consider myself a professional, and everyone I've come across professional enough to where we value privacy with your financial stuff. So I don't tell people besides my agent, my mama,
right,
what my contracts were.
Right. Okay.
Well, I was doing well. If I wasn't, then, no one knew.
Okay.
The not being paid when you're overseas, I actually did experience that when I played in Greece. It was during the recession when Greece was doing really bad economically. And, it sucks. And it wasn't just women. It was and everyone. So as far as the disparity with how much you get paid is very real. Ticket sales and things like that, you get off of what you generate. But when players aren't getting paid, it's a dogfight. And it's there's no gender attached to it. But I can't really speak on pay more than the next player because I worry about my grass. I try to mind business that pays me.
I understand that. You mentioned that you didn't take an opportunity with the WNBA when you had it. So I want to hear a little bit about that. And I want you to talk about this new pay increase that the WNBA has now with their new CBA. So talk to me about this opportunity that you didn't take.
Well, the opportunity I didn't take, when I was at USF, we didn't win an NCAA title, but we did win a national championship at the University of Kansas. We beat the Jayhawks. And I don't know if you know, but I had my son while I was in college. So I did a 5th year. And I was actually on the draft boards to get drafted second round, which isn't the best, but it's not the worst. Foolishly, I was in love with a man who asked me to stay with him overseas during the summer months because the WNBA season is during the summer months and is during the rest of the year. And so, being in love and trying to respect my man, I said, okay, I won't enter the draft. And I advise everyone to not make that decision. And, so that's how the opportunity got turned down. And something I do regret, but yes, ma'am. As far as the pay increase, I think that it's very much well-deserved. I think they should do another one. I think
so too.
In and out for the collective bargaining agreement for the WNBA, but this is something that has been warranted for the past 10 to 15 years. I think that female athletes that played at the WNBA, especially when Cheryl Swoops and Lisa Leslie and those, I think they should get back pay, even though they probably make a lot of money.
Reparations.
Reparations. Even though they did probably make a ton of money based off of endorsements and things like that. That's where the female athlete or the pro athlete for women, really, the hustle really is to see where those endorsements can come from. And that's not just for female athletes, but, bring in womanhood, whether it's, doesn't matter gender, sex, preference or anything, but how do we get women to really be women without marginalizing themselves can help really gain more endorsements, get more fans, generate sales, and so on.
Yeah. I agree. Women, we are the creator of all things. That's how I look at it. And I'm sorry, I may be a little biased because I'm a woman, but we are. I mean, we birth the people who create other things as well. Even if we are not technically creators of products or services, we have birthed the people who are providing these things to other individuals. And it does sadden me that sometimes we get the short end of the stick in different areas of life, but we are doing so much and we're making so much progress in all types of areas to, have our voices heard and to support other people and to give other women a platform where their voices can be heard, where their services that they offer can be shared. So that I absolutely love. And I appreciate you being here because one of your passions is to help transition athletes. And you knew that there was some shifts that you had to make your transition happen or to get where you are now. So talk to us about that passion that you have for helping athletes to transition from post sports to corporate America or just to their own purpose in life.
Well, one thing to piggyback off or connect the dots with the previous two speakers is, I think you said about it too. My freshman year of college, I had a teammate. Her name was Tristan Webb. She was a 6th, maybe even a 7th year senior. She had about 6 knee surgeries. She was around. She was the old head on the team. And I found some things difficult. There was a 6'7" girl there who I would bust her behind day in and day out. But since she was 6'7" and all this, for the first half of the season, she would get all this recognition and praise. And one day I just was in practice, just not really participating. She was like, "You listen to me, young blood. You don't let anybody take away anything from you that they didn't give to you. So if your love for the game did not start here at South Florida, it shouldn't disappear here at South Florida." So that was a little off topic, but I just wanted to provide that because that's something that's helped me even until now, because it's bigger than basketball, kind of like what Otis said. But my passion for helping student athletes stems from the lack of care or priority for our future. Back in the day, the NCAA now does focus more on after the sport, which is a great thing. But, the lack of allowing us to work or get a job and giving us pennies to live during the summer or, to live during the year. If you came from a 2-parent household, you probably didn't get a Pell Grant because your parents made too much, right? To now, people can get paid for their likeness.
Right.
Sorry if I'm going off on a tangent.
Oh, no, you're fine. I love it.
When I was in school, I was always one of the ones who had all the recruits. Even when I played pro and I still lived in Tampa, PG, can you come by campus? So sometimes God, and I'm not sure I hope I'm not offending anyone. Sometimes God has a weird way or a funny way of showing you what you should be doing, right? So if I'm showing people for 4 or 5 years why they should come here, why they belong here, right? It's something that I'm good at. And showing people, young people, sometimes not even athletes, what they're good at, or labeling in their minds what companies label as a skill or a transferable skill. That's something that I enjoy doing. If you're a captain of a team, you're a leader.
Right.
I can lead on the court, I can lead off the court. If I can round up 100 troops in the military, I can monitor or make sure 100 employees are okay.
Right.
And sometimes I help people build their resumes and stuff like that. Now they're like, I haven't worked anywhere. I haven't done this. And it's like, no, I think you and I have had this conversation before.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 12 years. I've been punctual.
Right.
You've been doing peak performance activities, and the list can just go on. So right now, I try to reach out to as many student athletes that I still have the bandwidth to keep in touch with to say, hey, if you want an internship with my current company, they do seasonal this. Early exposure is everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have conversations when you're getting recruited. Ask the right questions.
Right.
Set yourself up to stay in the driver's seat, because sometimes as kids, or when we were young kids, we were so, I got to get a scholarship. I don't want my parents to pay for school. That's great. But guess what? You're so good. You're so talented. They need you more than you need them, in a sense.
Right.
Understanding the value of reciprocity as an athlete is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Use you. Use them too.
Right.
Get out of it what you want to get out of it.
Right.
If you expect to get your master's paid for while you're still in school, hey, listen, if I finish my degree in 3 years, I expect to have my master's or start grad school.
Right.
Be assertive, be upfront. Sorry if I'm getting.
Oh, no. Look, I need you to keep speaking, because this is like, you are dropping gems, of course. And this whole reciprocity and being in the driver's seat is so important. I've heard people say over and over again, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. But I think, and I'm just speaking from my own experience, coming from and being a part of the African-American brown community, we're always taught to, hey, make sure, you do what is necessary so you may get the opportunity, but we don't see it as a way for us to say and reflect on how great we are, in our own right. We don't see that in us. We're just like, okay, I hope I'm doing enough so that they will notice me, but we don't even notice our own greatness. And so when you're asking for something, you also have, you have something to give as well that they need. And we're all so different, right? We may not always jive together. Some company, may not be a good fit, but there is something else out there that works very well with you. You may need them to move forward, but they actually may need you more than you need them. So I absolutely love this conversation, Porche. The things that you're saying is very much needed, and our children, our potential professional athletes, or our potential entrepreneurs and business owners, this is the time now to start creating that business mindset. Absolutely. And if you are a student, part of your business mindset now is maybe, okay, you want to work on your resume because you want this particular internship. You have a particular passion of doing something. Well, who's out there doing the thing that I love? How do I get their attention? What is it about me that helps me to stand out? And so starting to wrap your mind around that and setting, certain goal steps to help you figure out where you want to be at the end of the day is so paramount to your success. And a lot of our children they don't see that. They don't understand strategic planning. They don't understand creating and maintaining your own brand. I just had a conversation with a gentleman earlier this week about brand and how I pretty much realized, I'm like, oh my God, I get it now. A light bulb went off for me. But a lot of these kids are not understanding that you are your brand. What you portray and put out to people, how you run your daily life, that's your brand. You are how other people perceive you, and you are how you want to be perceived. That is your brand. And so based on where you want to be, which means that you need a end game, you need a plan to be in mind, you have to start with your own individualized brand, but it starts with a plan.
Absolutely. I can just add really quickly, when you go to college at 16, some people 17, 18 years old, technically you're an adult, but you're still a kid. I think we've had this conversation before. These coaches need to be held accountable.
Yes.
Because if I care enough about you as a young man or a young woman, or I look your parents in the face and say, hey, I'm going to take your baby girl or your baby boy for the next 4 to 5 years, and I'm going to make sure that they're going to be able to take care of themselves, whether it's pro, whether it's medical school, being a doctor, whether it's running your own company. I think these college coaches need to be held more accountable with something similar to succession planning.
Mm-hmm.
Typically in corporate America, if you haven't gotten anyone promoted or haven't gotten anyone or haven't leveled anyone up or haven't been good with transfer of knowledge,
mm-hmm.
I think the same rule should apply with college athletics.
I love it because it may not, going pro may not be that thing for that individual, but if that coach at least create the conversation, with different people in different industries, that could be your going pro moment, as a student athlete. I agree with you.
It should be a priority. They should be less selfish and more selfless.
Yes.
And then, I just wanted to make sure I added, it's just like Pretty Women. And sorry, Otis, you're very handsome. Pretty Women, my mom had to tell me this, and one of my sisters, she said, you have to be responsible for your pretty. But when you're a student athlete, I can remember being a junior and someone told me I'm lucky. I'll be lucky for a scholarship. And I'm like, lucky? I work out 60 hours a week. I just got off of a plane this morning. I'm in class. Don't tell me I'm lucky. I bust my behind.
Right.
Corporate world as well. People may like you for what you used to do and all this and that, but they want you to fail. So the same way a pretty woman or a person from a ethnic background has to work twice as hard to be twice as better. The same attitude that you had when you were trying to get a college scholarship or go pro, you have to maintain that same mentality because they can't wait to see you mess up or to be called a has-been. Oh, this isn't the court or this isn't the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we can't forget that. One other thing I wanted to add is that we have an obligation and a responsibility. People who have found their niche, like you said, and people who have roadmapped successfully or roadmap their career successfully to do what we're doing now. Because when I see someone who looks like me doing something I want to do, now I think that I can do it. It's believable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's helped me guide my career. Sometimes we have these crazy ideas, we have these big imaginations, but when you see people that look like you, that walk like you and talk like you, and have gone through the things that you've gone through, it's like, you know what? It's possible. So that's the Adidas campaign, impossible's nothing, whoop-de-doo. But when I see, someone like Otis, I don't know if him or it's Lorente that works for Merrill Lynch. Hey, listen, Otis, Lorente, these people, they all play in the NFL. They're financial advisors. They're business analysts. They're this. Maybe I can do it.
Right.
Sometimes you have that moment in your car or in your room, like, man, what am I doing? Who am I kidding here?
Right.
Like, don't count yourself out.
Right.
So, yes.
Are student athletes or professional athletes able to contact you for help transitioning from athletics to corporate America? If so, how can you be reached?
Well, yes. They can reach out to me. It's funny, about 2 weeks ago, Sivonnia and I were having this discussion. She actually owns her own law firm. So we've been talking about ways to launch consulting for student athletes who want to get into corporate America or who want to and are brave enough to take that step to say, you know what, I'm putting the ball down and I want to make my life better. I want to turn the page.
Yes.
For now, if someone wants to reach out to me, they can send me an email at Porche_Grant@yahoo.com. Anyone who's serious and wants to email me, then I can exchange further information. But we have a legal person here who's a certified attorney, passed the bar. I've worked in advanced management for several years. I have over 15 years of athletic experience. I've worked with HR. Haven't worked with legal yet. My mom still wants me to go to law school, so maybe Sivonnia, you can help me get a discount.
I wish I could help myself get a discount.
But it's going to be Porche_Grant@yahoo.com. Porche_Grant@yahoo.com. And yes, I'll for anyone to reach out to me with any questions.
Thanks for joining us this week on What Are You Sporting About podcast. Make sure to visit our website, prosportlawyer.com, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever your favorite platform is so you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes or iHeartRadio. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you like the show, you might want to check out our book, What Are You Sporting About? Attorney Sivonnia DeBarros is available for private consulting at sldebarros.com. And remember, we're here to educate, support, and guide you in your journey to success because we're all sporting about something.